Good morning or good afternoon. Thank you for joining us whenever and wherever you are. My name is Zachary Hill. I'm the Chief of Staff at Tomorrow's Talent, and this is the Bridge to Tomorrow's Talent, a podcast where we talk about the workforce, the future of work-based learning, how to best launch into new careers, and what really makes the real world of work tick. Today, we're joined by Michael Kleyman, founder of Kleycom Consulting. Thanks for being here, Michael. Can you tell us a little bit about what you guys do over at Kleycom?
Yeah, so we are an unbiased, impartial telecommunication firm specializing in voice, data, cybersecurity, cloud, pretty much everything and anything that encompasses telecommunications. And we work with over 160 different companies, from the AT&Ts, from the big publicly traded companies like AT&T and Frontier and Verizon, to even some small regional companies. But ultimately, we provide end-to-end telecommunication solutions.
Very cool. And when you said unbiased at the beginning, what does that word mean?
So a lot of times when customers or prospective IT people, CIOs, C-level executives, when they go and look for services, what they do is they contact usually a company, whether it be Lumen or Verizon or AT&T or whatnot. They're greeted by a rep, and that rep holds a quota, and they can just basically price out and offer services from that specific company,
Hmm.
which is fine. But what makes us impartial and unbiased is that we are not bound by one single provider. We actually have a wholesale pricing line with over 160. So when we do
Gotcha.
consulting, nobody here is an actual quota bearing salesperson. We are true subject matter experts. We're here to simply advise and assist with whatever the customer actually needs. So when we have that conversation, we're not offering a specific service or a specific provider or carrier. We're unbiasedly looking at what their needs are and then filling those needs to match it with the best provider and match it with the best service. So
Wow, that's awesome. You're almost like a telecommunications like a fiduciary, right? You're
yeah,
actually
yeah,
interested in what's best for the client, not just trying
correct,
to hit sales numbers. That's really cool. I
correct.
didn't know that was a thing. Awesome. I'm
Yeah.
already learning. So, Michael, how did you get your start in this industry? How did you go from, high school student or a college grad into founding a telecommunications company?
Well, it's kind of interesting because I think I kind of fell into it.
Okay.
I was always in business, and I had started a film location company with a buddy of mine, and it was kind of backed by a private investor that happened to be his father. And I was a director. I mean, I kind of grew into that title, but I grew into a director role at a company, and it was essentially a film location company. We marketed to the film industries. Well, after a little over 5 years, there was a little bit of a break in the relationship. Some partnerships that I was promised didn't work out, and I was kind of at a low, kind of like, I worked my butt off for this for these 5+ years, and everything that was promised kind of fell through. It was a big damper for me. And a close friend of mine mentioned that, hey, he was an IT person, and he works for himself, but he worked with big companies. And he mentioned, hey, I work with this company called Telepacific. It's TPX now, but it was Telepacific Communications at the time. He goes, you know a lot about IT stuff and communication stuff. Why don't you go into that? And I thought to myself, well, you know, why not? I'll give it a shot. Like, I was kind of like down because I invested so much time and effort building this kind of what I considered like a baby to me.
Right.
And I kind of fell into telecommunications, and I worked there for a little under 2 years. And I realized I have an ability to really grasp the understanding of telecom. Uh, Always loved working with people. So I kind of put the two and two together, where I was able to leverage my love for technology, my love for communicating with people, and kind of ran from there. And so, yeah, I kind of just fell into it and been doing it ever since.
That's really great. No, that's a cool story to hear. And you started one company, had something happen in a couple years of experience, started another company. What advice would you give to people who maybe want to start that company, but they've been an employee their whole life and they're wondering how to make that jump to being an owner, starting their own project? What advice would you give?
I think nowadays, especially nowadays, it's more prevalent than ever. I think fear is what holds people back. I think
Mm,
the uncertainty with what's been going on, and just in general the world, and I think kids, and I don't want to knock anybody, but yeah, I think we've gotten soft a little bit. Education has gotten a little soft. we became a little coddled, and I think everybody kind of started getting the feeling that they need and deserve a, for the lack of a better term, kind of a safe space.
Mm,
I wish the world was this entire big bubble of safe space where you could be nice to me, I could be nice to you, and we can just solve all our differences with a handshake and a smile. Unfortunately, that's not the world we live in, and I think we have to kind of get a little tougher on
mm.
ourselves. And if not, I would have never been able to make that leap and jump from one company to the other. And I think the best advice to for me to give is get out of your own way. If you want something, it's out there. Nobody's going to give it to you, but at the same time, nobody's really going to stop you. So
Okay.
it's one of those things where if you want it, go get it. And I think nowadays people just overthink everything. There's so little action and so much in thought
Right.
that it paralyzes the person from taking that step. So part of it is fear, maybe a part of it is partial, I don't want to say laziness,
Mm,
but I think it's a fear of failure. And
right.
you like the great Wayne Gretzky mentioned before in a quote, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So
Mm,
take some
yeah.
shots, you
Fair
know?
enough. Yeah. Yeah. I think I've heard it called analysis paralysis, which you said
Yeah,
people get caught in the
precisely.
thinking and not the acting. Yeah.
You actually took it out of as I was, mentioning, I was trying to figure out what that was. Yeah, analysis paralysis, correct.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. So I think I can see a lot of that. Yeah. And especially with, young folks trying to get their very first start, it can be really intimidating to jump out and do it, but just got to take those shots, right?
Yeah.
So as you were coming up and, through high school and getting into the film industry and then making that switch from film to telecommunications, did you have like a mentor or, role model maybe even that you were able to work with that was able to help guide you, or maybe another entrepreneur that helped you do that kind of initial setup of getting your company off the ground? And what did that look like?
I don't know whether I'm trying to think of what kind of mentors I had in school. There were definitely a few teachers that stood out.
Mm,
The one that kind of stands out the most, funny enough, is the one I hated the most. And it was no, I mean it. And it wasn't until years later that I realized, I mean, and let me just tell you, she was a Spanish teacher. It wasn't
mm,
even like a core, like it wasn't like the science or the math or the history, some of the stuff that was a second language. And
right.
but it was her, she was tough,
Mm,
and she was extremely tough. I mean, you don't hear a lot about this nowadays, but I fell asleep in class during a video about Spain, and she rolled up a newspaper, and it didn't hurt, but kind of wow, wake up. And
hey.
I think, and she did have some choice words for me, and she even basically threatened to not let me play baseball because
Right.
I was on a high school baseball team, and she mentioned, I'm going to talk to your coach. If you don't get at least a B on this next test, you're not going to play. And I'm like, what do you mean a B? I just need a passing grade. He goes, yeah, you need a passing grade to pass my class, but if you want to play baseball, you got to earn at least a B. So she was
Okay.
tough on me, and I never kind of realized why. And it wasn't until graduation where she came to me and she gave me a hug, and I kind of realized it was the teachers that we kind of hated the most, or that were the toughest on us, and that's why we resented them, that actually later on kind of have had a little more of a kind of profound effect on you. So
Right. Those are the ones who are really pushing you, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I get
Maybe
that.
she saw
Okay.
something that I didn't, but it's I appreciate her now. So,
Yeah, yeah, okay. I think teachers will be happy to hear that, right? Because we deal with the back and forth, but it's good to hear that some of the students at least come out the other side appreciating
yeah.
it, right? That's
Unfortunately,
awesome.
we just don't appreciate it till way after. So it's a
Right.
thankless job. It really is. You know, it it doesn't get the credit that I feel it deserves.
So we'll say to any teachers watching, thank you. Thank you for what you guys
Yeah,
are doing out there. We appreciate it.
absolutely.
So what really what would you say is like your why as you go through your work? Is it just trying to make the company do the best it can? Do you have a different mission that leads you through your day to day? How do you, get up in the morning and get yourself motivated to go out there and give it your best?
Yeah, I think the easiest, not the easiest response, but I think the most honest response is obviously my family.
Okay.
Um, but deep down, I mean, I think that's the surface. I think most people will right away jump, oh, well, it's my family, it's my kids. I love my family, I love my kids. They mean the world to me. I think ultimately, if I really think about it a little deeper, like just kind of a little deeper within me, taking everything else out of context, I think it a little bit has to do with, I think, legacy. I
Mm,
kind of want to leave a little bit of a legacy behind and kind
okay.
of be known for being a very moral, ethical businessman. I think there's a lot to be said in people that become successful and they are looked back and they're kind of, this person possibly did some shady stuff. And
Right.
I like to run a really honest, direct, straightforward business. And there's a legacy I want to leave behind for my family, for my kids, and for, I guess, the younger generation to kind of follow. So I guess first and foremost is my family, but looking down deeper, it's building something that I'm truly proud of and leaving that potential legacy.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really great to hear. You're really worried about the long-term impact that you're having, not just the
Sure.
day-to-day. Yeah. So then when we're thinking about, the next generation, those young folks who maybe are coming and looking at working at somewhere like Kleycom, what do you think are some of the biggest stumbling blocks that folks have in their early career that they could maybe work around or find a way to skip with some advice?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. So I think it goes back to there are certain types of people. I
Mm,
think some people that are extremely goal oriented and motivated, I think those are probably some of the first people that burn out. And I think burnout, especially in the corporate environment, it is a completely real thing. I kind of suffered through it a little bit, and it affected, my performance. Actually, affected me in a lot of ways. But I think burnout is a big thing. I think
okay.
when starting something, you really have to put together a plan. But I think that plan needs to be realistic.
Mm,
The goal overall needs to be higher than you can imagine, but there needs to be certain steps that you take to obtain those goals. And it needs to be almost daily. Like, I'm going to get here, then regroup and get to the next step. It really is a ladder. And you can't get to the top step without getting to, going through the first steps. You can't fly up there. There's no secret sauce. So I think burnout is a major thing that needs to be uh, looked at. You got to work hard, but don't overdo it to the point that you kind of wake up one day and you're like, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to do this. I think that's one of the main things that's to touch on.
yeah, and I like what you said about having a plan too, right? Because if you have a really intentional plan, you can help avoid burnout by doing it chunk by chunk instead of just looking at everything every day and
Yeah,
feeling overwhelmed, right?
yeah, absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
great. So then as you think about, new folks coming into the industry, whether they're burning out or not, right? What do you see from young professionals? I mean, do you interact with a lot of folks who are new to the telecommunications space? And what's your kind of feel on that next generation of leaders?
I really hope the next generation of leaders sort of step it up a little bit. I've personally witnessed some things that kind of bothered me in the last couple of years. So we've been in rapid growth, and we've been hiring and interviewing a lot of different divisions for Kleycom, whether it be in marketing or sales and whatnot. I went through a process where I decided myself to kind of look into interviewing some of these people, and I just one particular one that kind of stands out that kind of makes me kind of laugh a little bit was this younger kid came in and had a very impressive resume. Even I think he was in his late 20s, but VP of that, director of this, and just really impressive resume. And I was looking at it and I'm like, well, tell me about why you want to go into telecommunications. I mean, it looks like you've been in the parts and resale business, car sales. Uh, ran and you were a VP at a big mechanics, place. And one thing led to another. I started discovering where when he kind of sat back and said to me, well, I'm looking for just a new opportunity. I've excelled in all these fields. I'm looking for something new to be the number one at. And I personally really admire that. It kind of almost reminded me about of myself when he said that.
Real hungry
Like,
attitude. Yeah.
yeah, like really, really smart, go getter type of a guy. Just whole persona, everything was great, but something still struck out, like stood out to me. I'm like, something does not seem, 100% legit. What ended up happening is I'm like, well, tell me what your expectations are, because again, anybody that works with Kleycom Consulting, I'm not a type of person and a type of leader where I am in the back and have anybody on the front lines in the trenches. I'm in the trenches daily with my teams, whether they be overseas in the Philippines or whether it be boots on the ground here in Los Angeles. Like I'm in the trenches. And one of the things I kind of would kind of make a point of is if I'm eating steak and lobster, my team is eating steak and lobster. So I make a point to really be that thoughtful leader. And this person sat back and said to me, "Well, by the way, I just want to just let you know, I wouldn't work for anything less than 125,000 a year plus bonuses plus." And I didn't really flinch at that until once again I glanced at his resume. I'm like, you have zero communication background, you have no telecom experience, you never did any kind of IT stuff. You're coming in fresh into a new industry, and I commend that. I absolutely commend that.
It's
But you
brave.
bring absolutely no experience to garner a $125,000 a year salary. I mean,
Yeah.
if he even had a year of like background at like Spectrum or an AT&T or any kind of a VoIP company, I may find some kind of justification to work with him, but there's zero.
Right.
And so I sat back and I'm like, well, what makes you believe you can do this? And of course he gave me some really good answers. Well, I'm a go-getter. I could learn this, I could learn that. And then I thought to myself, and I started looking at his resume again, and I did some research because I was at the office and I was had my computer open, and I noticed, interestingly enough, the VP for the automotive dealership was a family member.
Mm-hmm.
And then the owner of the mechanics, that he had like four locations of, was like his father. And then so right then and there, based on the two top positions that had like 8 years of experience, is his family. And I'm not knocking that, but here is somebody that was just given, an opportunity. And again, there's nothing wrong with being given an opportunity if you really own it and you build it.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think there's an unrealistic expectation nowadays with young kids coming into the workforce and going, "Hey, I deserve this."
Right.
You don't. I hate to break the news. You don't. You gotta work for things. You gotta build. You gotta go from the grassroots, from humble beginnings, and then build something. So I found that just really, really funny as an experience that he came in and just, the world's my oyster. Give me money.
Right, right. Yeah, and especially jumping industries, not the relevant experience, all of that. That's a big ask coming into a
Yeah.
new position. Yeah. So then what do you think the best route is for, do you think, getting a lot of schooling and then trying to go into work, or is it work-based learning experiences like internships and apprenticeships, or climbing the ladder kind of the standard way? What do you suggest people try to target for, their plan as they're making it?
I actually don't remember who said this to me before. This is years ago, like many years ago. Somebody mentioned to me, do not let school interfere with your education.
Mm,
And I never understood that when I was in school, but it wasn't until I really went into the real world and realized, there are powerful people in powerful places that could literally either crush me or make me. I'm not going to knock school. I think schooling is very important. for specific fields. You want to be a doctor, you got to go to school. You want to be a lawyer, you got to go to school. You want to be, a mechanical engineer, something that really requires schooling. By all means, like I want my doctor to have the best schooling. If
Right.
God forbid I need a lawyer, I want my lawyer graduating from the best school possible.
Right.
If I'm building a building or I'm building my dream house, you should know I'm going to look out for the best engineer possible from the top, school to build my house and so there's certain things that I think schooling needs, but I think there's so much emphasis on school. And I think at this point, about 50% of students that are coming out of school are coming out in serious debt. They're
Hmm.
coming out in not their relative field.
Yep.
So again, I don't want to start knocking any degrees or anything like that, but I think we have right now too many sociology and liberal arts, people coming out that are basically struggling. And I think that they had this. And by the way, in school, I was an arts major. I was a film student. I was a cinema, television arts major. So like again, I'm not knocking it, but I think a lot of students are majoring in these random topics where the only thing that really is their fundamental path is, well, then you probably are going to go back into teaching.
Right.
And I think that in my experience, what I've seen with some friends of mine and other people, that I know a lot of people that are electrical engineers and plumbers and things that can be done vocationally for a tenth of the debt that they experience in school, and they come out and they have like a six-figure job. I mean, we
Mm.
need more electricians right now. We need more plumbers. We need more in a lot of these vocational fields that don't require a four-year degree, because a lot of, like, if you want to become, like I like to call it, a subject matter expert in your field, chances are after your bachelor's degree to get hired by a serious company and with those six figures, you're probably going to have to go back to school for some kind of a master's degree or
Right.
additional schooling. So where does that real schooling end? I actually, when I was younger, for a short period of time, I know they closed down already, but I worked for a company called Bed Bath and Beyond. I think I was like 18 years old. It was a summer job, and there was a gentleman that worked worked with me for the same 925 that I made. He had a master's in economics.
Mm.
I was I was baffled. I'm like, wait a second. You have a master's in economics. I'm still in school. What are you
Right.
doing here? Like, what are you doing here? And I just remember having this conversation where I was like, hey, let's go grab lunch. And I'm like, there's a great, like, kind of steak place. He goes, oh, I haven't had steak in forever. Because he was having financial troubles
Mm.
just buying lunch. And again, I don't know his situation. It was an employee colleague. I wasn't
Right.
gonna mess with his finances. But if an economics person can't figure out what to do with his finances, that's a problem. So I don't know what he was doing at Bed Bath and Beyond, but I think schooling is great. By all means, go get your education. But I think a lot is there's to be said for, if you don't feel that you are going to be that higher education learning, I'm going for my bachelor's, master's, I'm going to be some kind of a chemist, a chemical engineer, a you know, a doctor, a lawyer, a physicist, whatever. Do you really want to go to school? Because I'm definitely not utilizing my degree. So, and
Right.
it's just something to the younger generation really needs to think that, are you really just doing it to appease your parents? So you get your parents off your back. Because let me just tell you, being a parent now and kind of, foreseeing, what how far I've come, my parents are going to be, proud of me no matter what I did, as long as I'm, happy and healthy. And I think it deep down inside, once you kind of get over the fear of maybe disappointing, the parents or that, you got to do what's right for you. And if schooling is, by all means. And if there's something that you love that you can maybe go and do vocationally, like at a trade school, that's there's more power to you. You're going to be in
Right.
less in debt, and and you're going to be faster. And a lot of times it's actually being faster to the, um, kind of faster to the finish line, so to speak, because if you can finish something that is technical in 2 years, and, for example, say lighting or plumbing or something, or electrical or plumbing, you get your vocational degree in 2, 3 years. Guess what? Now you can actually focus on, John Smith's, lighting or plumbing, and your
Start
own
making
company.
money.
Start
Yeah.
making money right away. Or even better, start employing people. And now
Mhm.
all of a sudden you actually have increased. Now you've doubled yourself. Now it's not just you, John Smith, plumbing. Now you're John Smith plus John Smith and Associates. And all
Right,
of a
right.
sudden, you're not just one, you're two, you're three, you're four. Did you need a $200,000 debt for school? No, because you spent 20 grand and now you're a licensed plumber and you have people under you.
Right,
So,
right.
and
Okay, so
again,
I'm hearing have the end in mind. I think
yeah,
if I was to sum up kind of what you're saying, you got to have a goal, not just be doing school for school's sake, right?
correct.
But have
Yeah,
an end goal in mind and really work towards what you want to do that you know is going to be a good, solid career.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
I think that summed it up very nicely.
So then when you're thinking about, high school students or maybe even students who are in college now, but when they're trying to figure out what that end goal looks like, right? I think of an internship because I had an internship when I was young, right? I got my start when I was fresh out of high school. I got to intern at a school district and I got to learn about how the back end of schools work, right? I had seen teachers my whole life, right? I was just out of high school, but getting to see the back end, getting to learn about grants and getting to learn about how schools get their funding, right? And that really informed a lot of what I now do today, right? I don't work for a school district like my internship was, but definitely gave me an idea of the direction that I wanted to go. If they don't get the chance for an internship or an apprenticeship, or maybe it's about how to find one, how would you suggest people find that end goal that they're pointed towards?
Um,
Like what helped you explore? How did you land on film first? And I know you
no,
fell into telecommunications, but
I understand you. I understand what you're asking. I have a little bit of a biased opinion on it, that, and I kind of like to remain. So I'm all for internships,
Mhm.
but I think, in my experience, the hidden thing behind internships is basically free labor. I
Okay.
mean, again, just my opinion. I think you have to put in your hours, you have to put in your diligence, but make sure that that internship gets you something,
Right.
either school credits, some kind of a small paid internship,
Right.
uh, some kind of a free lunch. I think there, in my experience with certain friends and people that I know, they've worked, in certain industries. I have to admit it, mostly entertainment, where it was free labor. There
Mm.
were runners, and they worked like 12 hours a day running and getting coffee and picking up all sorts of stuff, putting in literally their hours for months and months and months and getting nothing. And then at the end, all of a sudden, all right, well, we'll hire you, 12.50 an hour. And it's like, I just
Mhm.
worked almost a year for nothing. And now you're giving me 12.50 an hour, and I'm
Right.
supposed to be thrilled with that. So again, I want to make it very clear. I'm a very direct, kind of an ethical person. So that's why I said right away before I mentioned that this is a biased
Right.
opinion. So I don't want to skew anybody otherwise, but
Yeah.
that's just an opinion where if you're going to do an internship, make sure there's some kind of an agreement prior
Right.
where you will do A, B, and C, but XYZ is almost assured. You don't want to
Right.
be put in a position where, you put in a couple of years and you have nothing to show for it.
So you
So
think if you're going for an internship type experience, an apprenticeship, you want to make sure you're getting certifications out of it, that you're
yeah,
getting pay, that you're getting,
yeah,
like you said, maybe school credit, that there's some
yeah,
kind of real deliverable on the other side for you.
absolutely, absolutely. Like, for
Okay.
example, you're going to go to do an apprenticeships, um, or to with, say, a financial institution.
Mhm.
Well, negotiate. This is the chance for you to be, a business person and smart.
Yeah.
Hey, I will work for free, no problem. And are you going to pay for my Series 6, Series 30, Are you going to maybe pay for some of this if I decide to go into this? Well,
Right.
if the answer is no, well, think about that. Do you really want to intern at a company that once they've exposed and used up your services and your free time, they won't even pay for your education to then return back to that establishment? It,
Mm,
it says something about that establishment. So again,
right.
I think people just need to be smart about things, and I have an end goal. Nothing wrong with internship. You can trade you could trade your time for a long-term goal, but you have to be smart about it.
Got to be smart about which one you choose, how you go about it. And I like what you said. You can negotiate, right?
Yeah.
You're allowed to ask for more while you're there, especially if you're showing that you've got the stuff, right?
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool to hear. I think a lot of people need to hear that. So then are you guys doing anything at Kleycom to reach out and, build up younger folks and kind of fill your pipeline of talent to get you new fresh talent? Or what's your strategy for when you need new people?
Great question. Sadly, we're not doing enough to attract some of the younger talent right now. We're in a rapid growth, and right now we're focusing more on additional subject matter experts who have already kind of been seasoned in the industry.
Gotcha.
The another major differentiation with my organization right now is that we have some of the highest payouts for agents that
Mm,
in the industry. So we have a lot of agents that are coming from the AT&Ts, the Spectrums, the other VoIP companies and stuff like that that are kind of sick of the grind of corporate world. They
mm,
realize they traded their time for dollars, and at the end of the day, they're expendable. At Kleycom, none of my staff members, none of none of my team members are expendable because they basically they run their own business within my business, and the way they
gotcha.
get compensated is not just with a nice cushy commission or anything like that. They actually build up residuals. So that's something very unique to that I've been doing since the beginning is initially building up people's residuals. So not only do you get paid for the deal when it closes, but you're going to continue to get paid for that deal month in and month out till you build up a residual base where you don't have to worry about money. And that is ultimately the end goal. I try to present financial freedom. And that's
Wow.
what I wish somebody presented to me many years ago. I would have probably had a company that has tens of thousands of employees already. But it's something that I truly believe in that business model. And if you give somebody the ability to have financial freedom, they will work twice as hard. They will take care of you twice as much, and they'll have that loyalty and devotion to what they do. So that's really important to me. But sadly, I'm not doing enough to attract the younger generation. And that's particularly because I feel the younger generation, no offense to them, had become a little softer and they don't
Right.
want to put in their 10,000 hours to become a professional in something. They're looking for instant gratification. And unfortunately, here at Kleycom, we're not about instant gratification. We're about, you want to make it, I'll give you the roadmap, but you're going to have to work.
Right.
So
You got to walk that map yourself. Yeah, you got to walk
absolutely.
the
Yeah.
steps.
Can't walk
Okay.
it for you.
Right, right.
I could show you how to walk it. I could show you what I've done, and I will hold your hand. I have no problem. Make no mistake. I have no problem holding somebody's hand, but I'm not going to be the one walking it for you. I can't walk your line while you're behind me. You're going to be
Yeah.
one step ahead of me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Great. And I love what you're saying about the financial freedom and really opening people up to do what they love and to really put their heart behind something. Because I think that's true, right? When you're worried about rent or the next check or something, that can slow you down and change your priorities. But if you've got a
100%.
firm base behind you, that's a great employer outlook. Yeah, that's really cool to hear.
Thank you.
So I think I just want to know, and I mean, you've given a lot of advice already, but if you had advice to that younger generation, right, to those people who are just starting out, just trying to get out into the world, what would you say? What makes a resume really stand out to you, or what would you say a person should go do to make themselves really approachable and stand out from the crowd?
I don't think it's really important to specifically go down a path. Like, for example, if you're going to a specific industry, just focus on that industry. Most employers want somebody well-rounded.
Mm,
Do do little things. Do community outreach. You'd be surprised how that looks on a resume. Go out and figure out ways for you to better your community, whatever it is. Get behind certain programs, certain communities. Join online groups that interest you. Engage the founder of that group. Go out and do activities with that. Get certified in something. It doesn't need to be, even if like hypothetically you want to be a lawyer, but you kind of have some interest in technology. LinkedIn is a great place for you to get some kind of basic certification or knowledge on something. Just continue to grow. Have a well-rounded resume. You can have a game plan, but doesn't mean you can't have little branches outside that make you a more well-rounded person. And you know what? It builds character too. So it's not just I'm a Yale graduate and I have a 12.0 GPA and all that stuff. It's not about that. What type of character are you? And I think
Yeah.
more than not, I think now employers, especially myself, I judge people by their character and not so much by a piece of paper that may or may not be 100% factual.
Right.
So I think
And so
just being
get up out of
well-rounded.
your silo, get a
Yeah,
broader view of experience, make yourself, like you
absolutely.
said, a well-rounded individual. I like
Absolutely.
that. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciate I hope a lot of people are watching this or getting good info from what you have to say and really taking some of this to heart because I think it's good information for folks to hear and love hearing it from somebody with the real lived experience. I really appreciate having you on today. To
Absolutely.
everybody, yeah, to everybody watching, thanks so much for joining us today. If you're watching us on YouTube, please add a like, a comment, hit the subscription button so that you can know when more episodes come out and help us push this out to more folks. And if you're just listening along on an audio podcast, give the episode a favorite, leave a comment for us and make sure that you tell other people to come in and watch The Bridge to Tomorrow's Talent. Thank you so much for being here today with us, Michael, and thanks everybody for watching.